What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Gloria, and you are listening to another episode of Good Vibes and Deep Dives, where we connect and reflect every week. We are in February, which means we are celebrating Black History Month and the month of love. And yes, I know I missed a week. Life was definitely lifing, but we're back. We are recharged and we are ready to get into it. So, let me give you a quick rundown of our topics. Today, we are focusing on relationships. We're starting with friendships, the good ones and the bad ones. Then we're diving into some of my favorite legendary Black TV sitcom couples. And finally, we'll wrap up with our check-ins and this week's assignment. So let's get into it. The older we get, the harder it becomes to maintain friendships. Between work, home life, family, and relationships, finding time to see your friends is just hard. But it's important to make time to see your loved ones as they are essential to our well-being. You know, human beings are wired to survive and thrive in community. Even if you like being alone, having friends to experience life with, it's super important. So it's on us to make sure we're choosing the right people to have in our village. And if we're going to maintain these healthy relationships, we need to be able to identify certain behaviors that will help us determine whether someone is a good fit for us. So I decided to spend some time thinking about some core traits of what I deem good and bad friends and created personality types. Some are going to remind you of some people you know, even if it's just a little bit. So let's get through these personas. I'm going to start with the good ones. These are the type of people you should have around. First up is the emotional architect. So this is the person that just doesn't want to hang out. They want to make sure that the time that you spend together is intentional, and they're going to create that safe space for you. So you're going to see them demonstrate that high emotional intelligence. They're going to be really self-aware and just really present themselves as honest and straightforward as possible. They're going to make sure to give you undivided attention and actually listen to understand, not just to respond to whatever you're saying. They're also going to make sure to offer you some grace and compassion. And anytime you have some type of disagreement or conflict, they're going to try to resolve it amicably, and they're going to be receptive to any feedback because they genuinely value your relationship. The emotional architect is just someone who's really tuned in to that vulnerable side of you, and they welcome you to come as you are, no matter how much of a mess, no matter how put together. They just want to make sure they're there for you at all times. So yeah, we love them. Next up, we have the boundary boss. And this is going to be someone who shows you respect at all times, especially when it's the little things. And for me, that's major because I'm a firm believer in how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you care enough to be respectful for the minor things, then when it's something major, I can count on you to really be mindful of how I feel, and you're going to be considerate of me, which is super important. So the boundary boss, again, is just super respectful. They really care about your time, your privacy. They're not going to meddle in your business. They're not going to do anything without your consent or approval. So even if it's something like posting a picture, sharing some contact information, or even, touching you, right? Maybe they see some lint on you. Maybe they want to fix your tag. They're just going to make sure that you're okay with whatever it is because they're considerate of your personal space. And again, they just have the utmost respect for you. When situations arise and you say no, they're going to respect that, right? They're not going to guilt trip you, shame you, or try to persuade you to change your mind. They're going to accept that no as a full sentence and not make you feel bad about it. So we appreciate those boundary bosses who really just get that respect is core to any relationship, and they just want to be considerate of you at all times. And now our final member of the good ones, the dream guardian. And this is the person who's going to keep your future self in mind whenever you forget. So think of an accountability partner. And I will preface this by saying that this has to be somebody that you want to make sure you're comfortable having in that position. I will say for me, I may share certain goals with people, but I don't really care for them to hold me accountable. So whenever they do try, I'm kind of like, what are we doing? This is not what I need you for. So in this type of situation, you just want to make sure that whoever fulfills this role for you is someone that not only you feel comfortable having in that space, but you have that conversation with so they know what they're supposed to be doing as well. Because you might have that expectation, but that person may not necessarily feel like they're in a position to do that without having the official green light. So, yeah, now with that out the way, we are going to focus on the traits. So, the dream guardian is going to be someone who cares just as much as you do, right? So, whenever you have a win, no matter how small, they're going to be there to celebrate. And when you need to be lifted up, they're going to make sure that they're there for you. And they're not the type to sit there and tally how many times you show up for them. They could care less. They just want to make sure they're always there for you, regardless of what it is. And it doesn't have to be something that's transactional either. They just genuinely care to be there for you. They also hold you accountable with love. So when they see you going down a bad path or they see a certain situation getting worse, they're going to make sure that they intervene because they don't want it to go further downhill. They're genuinely invested in your success. So they want to make sure that they're going to do anything they can to keep you on track and continue to stay supportive. Alongside that, they're not going to be those yes people. They're going to be the people that really hold you to that standard where you want to see yourself because you have the potential to do so. And they want to make sure that they support you for the things that you set out for yourself. So, yeah, shout out to those dream guardians who help you along the way on that path to success. So, if any of these people sound like anybody in your life, even just a little bit, make sure you let them know how much you appreciate them because good people are hard to find. Now, let's talk about those, oh no, you gotta go types. We're gonna start with the silent competitor. And this is somebody who's running a race with you and you didn't even realize you entered it. Throughout your relationship, you'll notice that they're inconsistent. Certain times they'll ghost you, and then the next day they'll act like they're your bestie and want to be with you 24/7. You may even find that in some cases they're going to act differently in front of other people and try to make you feel like an outcast in your own group. They may also lie about silly things and try to undermine you because they're constantly measuring themselves against you. So, any opportunity to put themselves above you, they're going to take it. And you'll also notice that when it comes to how they treat other people, it's usually very poor, especially if it's somebody who can't do anything for them. And so, if you see that, it's only a matter of time before they treat you that way, right? Once they see that you're not valuable to them, they could care less about how they're treating you. So, yeah, the silent competitor is very much someone who is focused on being number one and is willing to run over anybody who gets in their way, is willing to befriend the competition to, get one over them and all that. So, definitely someone you want to stay away from. Next up, you have the spotlight stealer. This is someone similar to that silent competitor, but for them, they're not really worried about the competitive piece of it. They genuinely believe they're number one, and you're just a supportive character, or even worse, an extra in their movie, right? So everything is going to be about them. They don't want anybody who's going to give them their opinion. They want someone who's going to be a yes person because they need validation for everything that they do. But when it comes to you, they're going to be super critical. When it comes to your dynamic, they're going to make sure that any benefit that you can provide, they're going to take advantage of that. So it could be your energy, your connections, your time. They're going to make sure they use everything you have to offer. But the moment that you need them, they're going to disappear because it's not about them anymore. Now it's about you. And at that point, they got to exit stage left. That spotlight stealer is just someone who's going to tap you until you're completely dry and move on. So it's not worth trying to figure out where you fit in to their space. Rounding out this terrible trio, we have the saboteur. And this is by far the most dangerous one because they go beyond that spotlight stealer, because again, the spotlight stealer could care less about you. They already think they're number one. But the silent competitor, they go beyond them. Not only are they in competition with you and are willing to like crush you, but they really like want to destroy you. So they're going to be completely unsupportive. They're actively working against you. So they're going to hit below the belt anytime there's an opportunity to disagree or belittle you because they want to make themselves feel better. If they know you have vices or you're engaging in some self sabotaging behaviors, they're going to make sure they encourage it because they want you to stay stuck in that cycle so they can try to progress while you self destruct. They're also going to talk ill of you at moments where they're by themselves and they have the opportunity to ruin your reputation. Their entire mission is simply to destroy you. So, if there's anyone who fits this type or any of the other two I mentioned, you really need to consider addressing the concerns that you have. And it might even result in a situation where you have to walk away. And that's okay because you're going to need to let go of those unhealthy relationships so that you can make room for the people who really care about you. And, if you felt like you resonated with any of these people, you felt like you engaged in any of these behaviors, you need to make sure that you take some time to reflect and learn how to be better. I don't think that anybody's perfect. I think that at different moments of our lives, we can all, slip up and regress. And in some cases, you don't know what you don't know. And if you never learned how to be a good friend, chances are you might be engaging in some of those bad friend behaviors. And if you couldn't relate because you're actively working on being a better friend or you already have a healthy support system, then good job. Keep it up. Relationships are all about maintenance. So make sure you're always taking the time out to not only reflect on your circle, but also reflect on yourself and you're showing up for your friends the way that you want them to show up for you. All right. So now that we've talked about friend types in real life, let's talk about the couples that raised us. I have a list of legendary Black TV couples here, and I'm putting them through my own relationship audit. I'm going to tell you which couples I think are the blueprints, the mirrors, and the giant red flags. The best part is I'm not going to mention what show they're from, so let's see if you can guess. First up, we have the blueprints, and these are the couples that set the standard for love. Obviously, we have to start off with Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv. I think they do a great job of representing that traditional couple and classic dynamic duo where the husband is the provider, but the wife is really the head of the household. I also feel like Rochelle and Julius were very much in that same camp. They didn't have the affluence, but they definitely showed you that they had it all, right? And Julius knew the price of everything, but he knew Rochelle was priceless. And when I have a husband, I'm definitely going to use her line. I don't need to deal with this. My man got 2 jobs, but I really don't need him having 2 jobs. Like, obviously, if there's a situation where it needed to happen, I'm supportive. Even I would go get 2 jobs. However, if I can go with my preference, I definitely need my man at home. So, yeah, why are you working so hard? Anywho, love them. Love Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv. Love Rochelle and Julius. And I also love Jay and Michael. When I think about their dynamic, I think about them just being able to be silly and goofy, but still have that really solid family unit. Very much my homie, lover, and friend type of couple, my type of dynamic for sure. Next, you have Sinclair and Overton. Love them down. They're just so pure and innocent, perfectly written, literally meant to be. And last on my list is Whitley and Dwayne. I really hated Whitley's voice when I used to come across the show. And so I never watched it. And one summer, I was like, I keep hearing this show is so good. Let me watch it. Honestly, love them. Love the show. I can think about that wedding scene at any moment and cry like, baby, please. It was just so good. I have to watch it. One of the best wedding scenes ever. So, yeah, those are my blueprints. Then we have our mirrors. And these are the messy couples, the couples that we identify with because they're trying so hard to get it right, but for whatever reason, it's not going well. So we need to start off with Issa and Lawrence, of course. I feel like for someone who's in their 30s and watched this in their 20s, they do a great job of really showing you that you can really love somebody, but if your career and your finances aren't there, it'll really make it hard for your relationship to survive. And what's that lady's name? Condola? I think that's her name. Still don't like her. Not a fan. Like, why? Why'd you have to have that man's baby and just mess up the whole dynamic? Like, I get why, but why? Anyways, I also think about Martin and Gina, and a lot of people love them, think about them as the perfect couple. But for me, I don't know. I feel like when it was really good, it was really good. But when it was bad, it was slightly toxic. So love them for the back and forth, but the relationship definitely could have used a little counseling or something. You also have Janine and Gregory, and they're your typical work romance between awkward people, really slow, very much like deny my love for this person. I'm going to act like I don't see the signs. Delusional, Get over it, be together already. Super cute, but just, a little contentious and trying to find the rhythm. And I definitely have to point out the Jurassic Park costume. I'm a fan, and when I saw it, I was like, this is perfect. I would totally do this if my man was into it. So, yeah, shout out to Janine and Gregory. To round out our list, I'm going to mention one of my favorite couples of all time, Maxine and Kyle. They're literally the perfect enemies to lovers trope example. It went from an intense back and forth that made you feel a little uncomfortable at times to, okay, now this is just foreplay for them at this point. So, yeah, love their characters together, love their characters individually, especially Maxine Shaw, attorney at law. And that episode with the My Funny Valentine cover that Kyle does, you gotta watch it. Like, if you don't remember it or had never seen it, it's so good because I feel like it just shows their dynamic so well, especially because they went from basically hating each other to trying to deny themselves the love that they have for each other. And yeah, Homegirl was bursting at the seams. What an amazing show. Love it. So yeah, that is it for the mirrors. And let's conclude the couples with the list of red flags. I think we need to start off with apologizing. We're going to apologize to Professor Ogilvy. I remember watching this show as a kid and, feeling bad for Nikki, being like, dang, why won't Professor Ogilvy just let her love him? Like, why is he being so difficult? That lady really chased that man and we were laughing at it. The same way we laughed at Urkel chasing Laura. And now that I'm a grown up, this is harassment because if I had a man chasing me for years in the workplace or showing up to my house and I've told him no multiple times and he just doesn't get it, I'm calling the authorities. This is a problem. I don't want a wedding ring. I'm not giving you a chance. Leave me alone. Sorry, Professor Ogilvy, and sorry, Laura. We should have treated y'all better. Y'all were definitely in distress, victims of these Looney Tunes. All right, next up we have Ghost and Tasha. And they were never going to make it. I don't know who they thought they were getting. That relationship was very much transactional. And the moment the businesses failed, that marriage went kaput. And you know that scene. Some people say it's made up. I feel like it is not. I remember watching it in real time when that man told Tasha, have some sympathy. I just lost the love of my life. Like Tasha wasn't his whole wife and the mother of his kids. So yeah, Ghost and Tasha, a giant, humongous red flag. You know who else was out the gate a red flag? Tony and Todd. Super transactional, super superficial, just going strictly off lust and the chase. And then when she got pregnant, it was just a bad situation. So yeah, those are the red flags. Couples that definitely needed to show us how toxic things could be. So yeah, there you have it. Classic couples chopped and screwed by me. And all of this love talk makes me want to call my boo, but I don't have one. So we're going to move on and we're going to get into some messiness. I mentioned the saboteur earlier, and you know who's a perfect example of that? That man, Zach from Fear Factor. So if you didn't get a chance to watch episode 2, pause and come back because I'm about to ruin it. So the challenge was wild. They mixed heights and fire. There were 13 contestants that randomly had to get paired. And because it was an odd number, somebody had to go twice. And I just feel like that's unfair. At least give me automatic immunity. I got to go through the fire twice and climb twice. You're nuts. Anyways, let's shout out Damien. She did a really good job in that challenge. She faced her childhood trauma as a kid around Christmas. Basically, her whole house burned down. And so she had a really big fear of fire. And so she was very skeptical in the challenge and didn't want to do it. But everyone encouraged her. And when she got on the platform, Dita did a really good job of calming her down and, encouraging her to do it. So they didn't win the challenge. They didn't end up grabbing the net that they were supposed to grab. But the fact that she still was willing to go through with it and went through the fire part says a lot about her. So yeah, shout out to her. We appreciate that. For this challenge, there was only one group that won, and that was Ethan and Chelsea. And there was this moment that was super cute where they banged their heads together and Ethan yells noggin, and it just made me think about like how young and free he is. Just very much silly, there for a good time. On the opposite end, Zach failed. He was partnered with Danielle, and it was actually his fault that they didn't make it through the challenge. So that was, kind of nice to watch because we want him to fail. For me personally, I think I could do the fire piece. The heights, not crazy about it. As I watch this show, it makes me realize that I am definitely a words of affirmation person. So I think with the right encouragement, I could get through it. A lot of things in life are like mind over matter. But yeah, I think with the right partner, I can get through the challenge. But I would much rather do the fire part than the height part. I would say though, if I try to do the challenge, I could see myself being successful at the wrecking ball part, but the part where you have to grab the net so you get to the ladder, that's the part that would have probably got me. Because I could see myself just, using my adrenaline all up after the fire and being like, oh, dang, I forgot. I got to grab the net. So, yeah, moving along. Mr. Zach, he wants us to talk about him. So, we are going to talk about him. That man is definitely villain number one. He is alienating everybody. And there's this moment where you just see him sitting outside while everyone else is inside chit-chatting and whatnot. And I'm just curious how far he could really go when he's working by himself. you need some type of collaboration in these games to really, make it to the end. Not always, but very rarely is someone able to be successful without the help of somebody. So, yeah, I'm just curious how it's going to play out for this man. But with his luck, he might end up winning the show. I also want to point out that, Ethan, you're messy. I was looking at you like, oh, how innocent, young and fun. But no, sir, you were in there chatting it up with Zach and Dita, telling Zach that Chelsea was gunning for him. Like, sir, we just saw you a couple of scenes ago forming a whole alliance that included Chelsea. And now you're over here whispering to Zach what's going on. I do not like it. And in that same conversation, I think this is where they're talking about the challenge. And you just see Zach start to act like a baby, and he's like packing his bag because he's talking about how anything that involves eating he can't do and he's going to get eliminated. And, Dita is literally like, grow some balls. And they're telling him he's acting like a baby. I thought it was interesting that he was acting like this. And for a quick second, I believed the man. But then you hear Rob talk about, I don't know if I believe Zach. I think he's faking it. And that made me rethink my opinion. And I said, Rob, you're right. That man would 1,000% fake it. I'm with you. Moving along to the end game, the elimination challenge was called Unhappy Hour. And as someone who loves happy hour, what a disgrace. This challenge was disgusting. So the people had to spin a wheel so they could get their cocktail, and it involved one solid and one liquid. These things, these options, gross, ill. I'm talking like cow stomach, pig blood, fermented beans. Who comes up with this nonsense? Like, ill. Round one, Rob handled his business. Shout out to him. He had a real gross concoction, pig ears and fermented eggs, but he won safety, and he was nice enough to give like the advantage to Danielle, where basically instead of a full glass, she just got like a mini glass. So then round two, it comes down to the final three, which is Jenny, Danielle, and Zach. And everybody was betting on Zach leaving. And did you know that man was faking it? Like Rob said, he spent the whole time crying, gagging, acting like he couldn't even eat ranch. And then suddenly he gulped that thing down and chugged it first. It was literally a chicken gizzard and cat food gravy concoction, and that man drank it like no problem. One super easy, and I was flabbergasted. Actually, I wasn't. I kind of expected it, but I was just like, wow, this man is really committed. I think I was more so shocked that he really drank that thing like that, because that's gross. I would gag a little bit. So yeah, that man definitely psyched the people out and even told them he's going to be like a tornado in the trailer park when he gets back. So he is legitimately the perfect villain made for TV. Sadly, my girl Jenny went home. I was rooting for her. I felt like she did a really good job in the first challenge. And, in this one, she just got too comfortable. She rested on the fact that, she thought Zach wasn't going to be able to do it. And so she took her time, and that counted against her. So it's also a good reminder not to get comfortable in any situation, because you genuinely never know what to expect. So yeah, that is how Fear Factor went. And for that elimination challenge, could I do it? Clearly, you can hear I could not. That is so gross. I don't know, man. I don't know. 200,000. Could I do it? I feel like I would at least have to try, right? Maybe if I could pick my stuff and not watch it get blended, hear it, but not watch it. Because then I just see the final product, and then I could make up what it is. But the fact that I get to see the whole pieces of something and then see it be blended, that I think would take me out. So yeah, watching it is where I draw the line. And then that whole part about if you throw it up, just throw it up in your glass and drink it. If not, you're going to get a full cup again. That's it. If I do that, I'm done. I'm peacefully bowing out. Yeah, no. Anything involving eating anything, drinking anything, I think this is where you get me. I hope you enjoyed that. This game was getting a little gross, but nonetheless, very much entertaining. So make sure you watch episode 3. That's going to be Stuck. So I'm very curious what they're going to choose for the different challenges. So yeah, that's it for the watch list. Now it's time for us to catch up on our homework and get into the assignment for this week. In the last episode, we were supposed to look at one thing on our to-do list and ask ourselves, if we were starting fresh today, would I choose to do this? And if it was a no, we were supposed to get rid of it. And if it were a yes, we were supposed to take one small step to help push it forward. So I applied this to my own to-do list, and I ended up looking at the list of domains that I had for different websites that I need to build. And my answer became twofold. So there were some domains that I needed to get rid of because they just didn't make sense anymore. They didn't fit my long-term goals. So that was the easy decision of, hey, we just need to get rid of these. But I still needed the websites. Part of that action still needed to remain on my list. So I decided I needed to turn off my automatic renewals so that way I wouldn't have to worry about the domains existing anymore once they expired. But then I decided to take some time to brainstorm some new domain names. That way I could take a small step forward in terms of those websites I still needed to build. And luckily, I was able to come up with some names that I really liked, and I was able to purchase the domain names. So I have them whenever I'm ready to work on them. And I thought this was such a great example because it really just shows you the power of clearing out your to-do list, because you're able to really think about what matters. Technically, the task is still there, right? I swapped what I needed to do instead of really getting rid of something. But what I did do is ensure that what I am doing is not just busy work, it's actual boss work, as the people would say. It's the work that really is going to push me forward and is not just going to take my time up and at a certain point be useless. So yeah, it's all about having the right thing to do, not just something to do. So yeah, I hope you got that opportunity to audit your to-do list, and feel free to let me know what you ended up doing once you gave it that fresh look. Now, let's get into this week's advice. And that is, don't let your romantic relationships be the only priority this month. Maintain your village and make time for your family and friends just as much as you do for your lovers. So with that in mind, our assignment for the week is going to help us with this advice. And what I want you to do is pick a friend you haven't seen in a while and reach out to them so you can schedule some time to hang out soon. Call them, text them, email, page them, whatever it is, just make sure you reach out to them today and set a date. The date doesn't have to be firm, it can change. You just want to have something scheduled so it makes it easier for you to really follow up on that time that you want to make for each other. And it really could be anything: a coffee run, a walk, an event that you actually need to get tickets for. Whatever it is, just find something to do, or maybe nothing to do, but something that's going to bring you together and make it happen. I'm also going to do this assignment, and I have to confess, I'm a little bit more positioned to make this happen, I would say, because I put my friends on meeting cadences on my calendar. I feel like it makes it so much easier to just check in regularly with people without having to think about it too much. And again, I do this for anything: phone calls, FaceTime dates, random activities, whatever. It just helps me keep track of what I need to do. And as a calendar girly, my life is 10 times simpler because my personal life, my friends, and my appointments and events are all linked together. So, yeah, shout out to my friends who let me put them on the calendar because it definitely is a useful tool. So, I bring that up to say that my advice is to find whatever works for you as long as you're finding that time to connect with your friends. So, that is our assignment for the week. We are going to reach out to someone we haven't seen yet and schedule that time. I know some of you are going to want to lean into that phone call, FaceTime that I mentioned. That is not the purpose of this assignment. The purpose is actual in person quality time because, virtual is cool, but nothing beats seeing somebody live and in the flesh. So, yeah, spend that time with your loved ones. All right, that is it for our show today. If you like this episode, make sure to like, follow, subscribe, and share the vibes with a friend. For more, you can always find us at goodvibesdeepdives.com. And don't forget to tune in next week's episode so we can follow up on our homework, fear factor, and check in to see how the rest of the week went. Until next time, bye.